Hello there, I'm Jo Parfitt, and I'd like to help you decide whether you could write a book. So, in this brief presentation, I'm going to talk to you about the possibility that yes, you too could write a book. Then, when I've convinced you, I'll share what I consider to be the 10 magic ingredients that you need to have in your book. Maybe you're one of those lucky people who just knows they have a book or several books in them. I know I am. I seem to brim with ideas, which is why I have 26 books under my belt so far, I suppose. But if you're one of those people who think, who am I to write a book? What do I have to say that others will want to read? Then ask yourself this. Are you an expert in something? Do you know something that others want to learn? Or do you perhaps have a story to tell that could help and inspire others? Maybe you've built a business without any startup capital, learned to live on £5 a day, or survived a divorce. If you have a story, believe me, you are halfway there. Let me give you an example. Let me tell you something about myself. I've lived abroad for 21 years in 5 different countries, so that means that I can write about living in Dubai, Oman, Norway, Holland, and even a brief spell back in England when we repatriated for a while. During this time, and before this time, I've also run my own business, so I can write about all the aspects of running a business, including growing a business, mainly through networking and other low-cost marketing options, and through writing. Along the way, I've written 26 books, so I can write about writing books. And also, partly so that I could be a journalist, and partly in order to promote my books, I have written hundreds and hundreds of articles. I've also edited lots of magazines, and I have written about how to write articles as well. So think about yourself. What about you? What have you done? What can you do? Let's look at the reasons why you might want to write a book anyway. Perhaps you want passive income, and of course, writing a book and having it to sell can provide passive income all the time, whether you sell it on Amazon, at bookshops, at the back of the room when you speak, to your clients, or through other methods. Perhaps you want to write a book because you want fame. Or maybe you want it to boost your profile, knowing that the higher your profile and the greater your reputation, the more you can charge. Or perhaps you want to write a book to fulfill a dream. They say 80% of people have the dream of writing a book someday. Maybe you want to write a book, any book. Or perhaps you want to leave a legacy. You want to write about what you know or what you've experienced so that it lives on after you're no longer on the planet. Or maybe you want to write a book so that you can share what you know. My motto is to share what I know to help others to grow. So I have written many books that do exactly that. It's important to me that I share what I know. It seems silly to keep it all to myself. What is your motivation for writing a book? Have you thought about it? I wrote this book back in 1985. My motivation then was because I wanted to share something that I knew. I knew how to cook French tarts. I knew how delicious they were. And I also knew that eating tarts was something that was very timely in 1985, because this was when Arnold Schwarzenegger said, "Real men don't eat quiche," and the world decided to prove him wrong. I was motivated primarily to write this because I had a really good idea. At least I thought it was a good idea. And I had a good idea for a title. It was accepted by the first publisher I approached. And it made people believe that I was a cook, and also that I was a writer. And from that moment on, I have been writing many books and have been commissioned to write 13 computer handbooks as a result of French tarts coming out by major mainstream publishers. If you're a speaker, then that's a really good reason to write a book. Because when you are a speaker, not only do you get paid to speak, but you are able to sell products at the back of the room afterwards. And when somebody has heard you speak, they generally want to take a piece of you home with them. I find that I sell books to at least 25% of an audience, which means when I have a large crowd there, that sometimes I can get away with not charging to do the speaking. These 2 books here, A Career in Your Suitcase and Release the Book Within, have both been the backbone of many, many talks I have done all over the world, particularly A Career in Your Suitcase, which has led me to be the leading expert on portable careers for expatriate accompanying partners. As a result, I have spoken at many conferences worldwide. Release the Book Within has also taken me to many conferences, but mainly it has meant that I have been able to run many workshops teaching people how to write books, and it has also really endorsed the fact that I mentor people to help them to write their books too. If you are a speaker and frequently get in front of an audience, then maybe you too should think about writing a book. If you run a business, then that's a really good reason to write a book. It can raise your profile, share what you know so that it can impress other people and potential clients, and it can also create some passive income for you. These books here, Building a Business on Bacon and Eggs, which is about the benefits of breakfast meetings, and Get the Life You Love and Live It, which is about finding your passion and turning it into the life that you really do love to live, have really helped their authors to make a stamp in the world. This book is a workbook. That means that it's got lots of pages with lines on where you can fill in things. It's got lots of exercises. It's a real call to action. When you write a book that's got exercises or tasks in it, it means that the person who buys it makes it their own, personalises it by writing in it. If you are a coach or a trainer, then a workbook is a really good type of book to write. This one, by Jan Heinze, is about how to live abroad and live successfully, and looking after your family, your leisure time, your spirituality, your work, and all the other aspects of life that are so important. Jan Heinze is an intercultural coach and trainer, and this book has really boosted her reputation. Of course, she sells it to all the people in her workshops, but what's more is she sells it to other coaches who run similar workshops. Perhaps you could do something like this. If you're a health practitioner, a reflexologist, an aromatherapist, a Reiki practitioner, or somebody who works in the healthcare industry, writing a book can really set you apart. This book, written by a Norwegian body reflexologist, shares her theories and promotes her very successfully. This book, by Geeta Sidhu-Rob, was written to promote her expertise in the world of food, healthy food. Healthy food you can feed the whole family that is gluten, dairy, egg and nut-free. She's sold thousands of copies, and it's really helped to boost her other business called Nosh Detox Delivery. But if you're not an expert, but you still feel you have a story to tell, there are plenty of reasons why you might need a book as well. Here are 4. A Moving Landscape is my memoir in poetry of my life overseas. I think I have a story to tell because it can help other people who are living abroad to empathise with the things that I've been through. Planet Germany by Cathy Dobson was written by a British woman who has lived in Germany for over 15 years, and it's her life story taken over the space of a year. How to be a Global Grandparent by Anne Huscroft and Peter Gosling is the story of 2 people, Peter Gosling, who is a grandparent of expatriate children, in fact he is my father, and Anne Huscroft, who is the mother of an expatriate grandchild, because she has lived in several places in Europe while her parents have been back in England. This story not only tells the stories of Anne and Peter, but is full of ideas on how you too could be an effective grandparent across the miles. And finally, To the Manor Drawn is written by somebody who was a client of mine called Leslie Bosher. And she has written a book about being an American, buying a flat in a stately home in Rutland, which is England's smallest county. And she's written about all the experiences she has had integrating into local society. So, I hope I've convinced you that it's perhaps a good idea that you too write a book to boost your reputation and boost your pocket. If you are serious about this, then let me just share now what I consider to be the 10 magic ingredients, without which you really might not have a recipe for success. First of all, a great title helps. And then a defined focus. Don't try to write about all the food in France. I just wrote about French tarts. It's much easier to find a market if you focus very closely. And while we're talking about markets, make sure that you have a market that you can target easily. It's very important that you, as the author, are prepared to get out there and speak to the people, do your promotions, do your own PR, and really help to promote your book. When we lived in the Middle East and lived in Oman, I co-authored a cookery book called Dates with a friend called Sue Valentine, who was a food scientist. Because we were there in Muscat, we were able to target the market really easily, and we sold thousands and thousands of copies. In fact, Dates has been the most successful book I have ever written. Make sure you have a wow factor, something that makes you stand out. And please don't forget your story. Make sure that you tell your story and add it to the book. It adds to your voice and makes your book more authentic. Make sure your timing is right. I wrote about French tarts in the 80s, when quiches were very much something of the moment. Right now, Geeta Sidhu-Rob's book on additive-free food is also perfectly timed. Make sure you have a good, honest editor. It's very important that you don't put out substandard work, and it's very important that your editor tells you what needs changing. You need a great design. People do judge a book by its cover. You need your commitment to promote it. It doesn't matter how good your book is. If you don't help with the promotion, it's not going to sell. And finally, you need to develop your own self-belief. It's very important that you believe in your product and your project. So, do you think you too could write a book? Of course you could. What are you waiting for? You've got all the help that you need here in the Publishing Academy. Thank you.